Alright, so this is Mr. Aguilar again. In the previous video, I went over some drawing fundamentals, some basics on how to hold a pencil, how to shade, how to blend. But now I want to do a practical application. So this video already assumes that you watched the previous videos where we talked about pencils and color pencils and the different qualities of color pencils. So now I just wanted to bring out a few things. I'm going to put the last video into practice. So I drew out a little leaf. It's blue, but you'll see why I drew it out blue. And then I brought out brown. And what we're going to be using is we're going to use a couple of colors. We got brown, we got red, we got blue, we got some orange, yellow, and green. And we're going to use all of these to draw this leaf. Now, a couple of things that I want to point out. The color brown, right? I'm going to do it way over here so we can't see it later in the video. It's not a very pleasant color, right? A lot of people think of brown. It's not a very attractive color, and that's fine. But you can modify by blending, and you're going to get some interesting colors. So if I take red and I mix it and blend it in with this brown, you kind of get this reddish burnt brown color, and it's much more appealing than just the brown itself. So here, let me put the brown back next to it so you can see the difference. Okay, and then I'm going to take the same brown, and I'm doing this dark, and I'm going to add some orange. And you're going to get a different value to it. So when you're drawing and you're illustrating, you got to think about what are some of the colors that I can use, how is this going to look, and then you compare it with other colors. So when you start looking at these browns, they might not look interesting, but when you start pairing it, so let's say we pair it with a yellow green, right? It suddenly becomes very appealing to the eye. We're used to seeing yellow greens and red browns together all throughout nature because we see that in trees, plants, bushes. It's a color scheme that we're familiar with and that we're comfortable with. So you'll find out a lot of your color schemes will derive from nature. So I want to get started on this. I drew out the leaf ahead of time just to make the video faster, and we're going to practice applicating what we just went over in the last video. So I have my leaf that I drew out here, and I'm just going to trace it again, but this time I'm going to trace that green over the blue, and you're going to get this bluish green color, and it's a nice blue green. Now, this is assuming you don't have a fancy color pencil set, you know, with 50 colors. This is assuming that you're limited to, you know, 8 to 12 colors. And that's where blending comes in. A lot of times the aesthetics, the way the blended product looks, actually looks better and more appealing than if you just had the blue-green color, right? There's something about blending that just adds a little bit of an aesthetic that you can't get when you're just using that color. Definitely true in watercolor. Making a warm gray or a cool gray in watercolor by mixing colors is a much nicer look than just taking a black and adding water to it, or taking black and mixing another color and water to it. Another video, another lesson. Okay, so there's my leaf, right? And it kind of has that little glow to it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start shading and rendering, and I'm going to be using that underhand grip that we talked about. So when we look at this, okay, I'm going to be using an underhand grip, and that's just going to give you some nice soft shading, and I just want to put a nice value down, and I can adjust my values with my finger. Okay, so by pressing down on my finger, I can get slightly darker values, and then just relaxing my finger, not pressing down on it, I can get a lighter value. Again, I'm creating a little bit of a gradient. and I can get some nice shading going on. So I'm going to do this really quickly, and then I'll move on. Okay, I just switched grips. A lot of times my grip will just automatically change. I'm trying to get better at, you know, announcing it, especially when I make videos. But even when I'm in class, if I'm doing this with a projector, I always try remembering telling students that, you know, just watch my hand. I change grips automatically. If I want a lighter value, it'll switch to that underhand grip. If I suddenly need a darker value, it will switch to the overhand grip. And it's just natural. I just switched again. And you'll find that as you become more comfortable and as you practice and you get used to saying, okay, I need this particular value or whatnot, again, switch grips, it'll just happen naturally. You'll start getting used to it. But again, it takes practice, it takes time. It's not something that just automatically happens. You know, when you first start, you have to mentally say, okay, I'm going to switch my hand grip because I need a lighter value, and then after a while you just start doing it automatically without thinking. So there's that nice green, and I'm going to take this yellow and I want to add some yellows to there. I want to make this pop just a little bit, and if you remember from the last video, yellow doesn't blend well, so I try to be careful with how I use it, but I just want to give this a little brightness. And the other thing is, we're doing a demo here, so I want you guys to see, how this works and the importance of, building up values, building up layers. Okay, so I'm going to come back in here and I want to give this a little bit more splash of green. So again, when we're doing this, we're never just going to shade flat. This isn't like a kid's coloring book where you want to color as flat as possible and stay within the lines. We want to have some shadows. We want to have some darker values. We want to have, some highlights. We really want to show that this is a object that is, even though it's flat, right? Because leaves are fairly flat, they're still three-dimensional objects. So you want to give it a little bit of volume, not too much, but just a little bit. And then again, I'll go back in and I'll just adjust my values. I don't know if you can see my hand, but again, I'm on the back of the pencil, and we talked about this in the last video. If I want a lighter value, I got to move to the back. Okay, so there's that nice green. So right now I just got green on the paper. I'm going to lift it up because of the light. And what I want to do is I want to make this pop off a little bit. So this is where that brown's going to come in. So I'm just going to put a little bit of brown. And the whole reason I want to do this is, I want to show a little bit of color theory. So brown is a neutral. And brown, a light brown will make dark colors pop, and a dark brown will make bright colors pop. What you don't want to do is you don't want to mix a dark brown with a dark color. So like a dark blue, you don't want to mix it in with a dark brown. If you do like a really dark green, like super dark, like the outline of this leaf, you want to put it against a lighter brown, or you want to warm up that brown. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm just going to put a little brown on here. And the other thing I want to do, I'm just going to have a little bit of a fade just so you guys can see it. I'm going to add a little bit of a more green here to make that pop. I'm going to take this blue, and I don't want this line to be so pronounced, so I'm just going to add a little bit of a more of a blue green right here and blend all that in. Take the green again, blend it. And this is all about making my colors really stand out. And now you can see like the light green areas almost look white. This is all shaded, right? All of this is shaded, but that first initial light green that I went over now almost looks white by comparison. So that's the other thing our eyes play tricks on us. Even though everything has green, some parts appear white. Okay, they're going to appear white simply because of the contrast. Alright, so again, brown, not a very pleasant color on its own. So on this side, what I want to do is I'm going to add some reds to this. And that red's going to warm up the brown. So like even a dark reddish brown will appear a little bit warmer. And that's part of the natural with what happens when you're using red. Red warms pretty much everything up until you add black to it, and that's when you get crimson, right? So when you get that dark red. But black does that to everything. All right, so I'm just gonna warm this up, and then I just want to blend this out. Let's come in here, and again, the main reason for doing this is blending, right? That's the whole purpose of this lesson, is to blend, and I want to show that to you. The other thing is red and green are complementary to each other, and again, these are terms that we're going to be going over. So we use a lot of vocabulary, and right now we haven't gone over any of it. So when we watch the video, we're going to be watching it just on like blending, and then you know, some of the terminology like complementary colors, right, or analogous colors. So blue green, green, and yellow green are analogous. There are colors that are closely associated and lie side by side on the color wheel. And on this side, I'm not going to add red because I want this to be a little bit lighter, a little bit warmer. So I'm going to add orange, maybe even some pops of yellow. And I just want you guys to see the difference in, you know, why we need to learn how to shade, why we need to learn how to blend. If we want to make things look, you know, interesting, you got to be able to do that. Hopefully this video is not taking too long. And look at that. So that orange just gives that completely different value to this brown. Now if you put a little bit of yellow, it's fine. It's just going to brighten it up, but you don't want to put too much yellow with the brown. Yellow and brown generally makes a very unappealing color. So I use it very sparingly. I'll put it in with like a little bit of if I use the orange, I'll put a little bit of yellow in there. But yellow and brown on its own, not a pleasant color. Okay. And then right up here again, I'm gonna take this orange, bring that in, add a little bit of that highlight. I'm gonna add a little bit more brown to this. But there you go. There's a nice rendered leaf. And I think what I'll do is I'll also scan this in so you guys can see it a little bit clearer and better. The camera quality, you know, not the best on this, but again, I want you guys to be able to see it. The light makes it a little bit hard to see those colors, so I'll bring it up. And then I'll scan it, and then I'll attach it at the end of the video. Okay, so that's it for the video. Hopefully you guys got a little bit more out of this video than the other video, because this is practical application of blending and mixing colors with color pencils. That last video was kind of just a how-to, but I really wanted you guys to see it in action, and the things that you can do and the variations that you can get by blending with color pencils. So till next time, have a good day.